Hey everybody, this is Adam B. Levine from Let's Talk Bitcoin. We had so many new show submissions for the contest, we've opted to create a page where you can listen to all of them at your own pace. Visit letstalkbitcoin.com/contest to peruse the entire set, and feel free to vote for more than one. We'll be selecting multiple shows to join the network in Q1. Enjoy the show, and remember to vote at letstalkbitcoin.com/contest.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Glad you're listening to us. This is Cryptography, Liberty, and Society. I'm your host, Zachary Silva, and I've got my co-host and producer here with me, Peyton LeGinge. How you doing, my friend?
Doing wonderful, Zach. How about yourself?
Doing great. And once again, we're glad to have you listening to us today. Alright, so this is Cryptography, Liberty, and Society, where we talk about ways that cryptocurrency and cryptography can empower individuals in their own lives. So today, for our cryptography section, we are going to talk about PGP and public-private key cryptography. For our Liberty section, we're going to talk about the potential of cryptocurrency to uplift third world countries by providing stable financial systems. And for our society portion, we're going to go into an overview of the Vacate Wall Street movement and how we think that's going to pan out over the coming year. So, exciting stuff coming up for you. We hope you listen all the way through.
Yep, should be an interesting show. Alright, so PGP encryption, I'm really interested in this. Zach, why don't you tell me more about it?
Alright, so basically, going to go to a little bit of history of PGP first. PGP was originally developed in 1991 by Phil Zimmerman. How PGP works is, I'm going to give you an analogy here. Basically, in some big cities, people have, the mailman has a key for their lobby, and you have a second key to get into a second door so that you can get into your building, right? So sending a PGP message works like this. Your friend gives you what's called their public key, right? And you use your public key, or their public key, to encrypt the message, and then you send the message to them, right? So the mailman goes up and delivers it. It's encrypted. He can't see what's up, right? So the mailman in this case could be your email, or likewise, text message. There's actually a text app for PGP, or encryption, that we'll get into later. And so, the message gets delivered, and then you go and take it with your private key, take it in, and you decrypt it, and you're able to see the message. If you want to respond back, you get your friend's private or public key, and you start the whole cycle again. And so that's basically how PGP works, and we're going to give you a full lowdown on it, and how to use it in several ways and several methods of doing so.
Yeah, it's been around for a while, it's been around since 1991, so, it's tried and true. They say it's the closest thing to military encryption, but you gotta be careful, because as it evolves, you lose support for older versions, and you can't necessarily decrypt older messages.
And that's a concern, but, you have pretty much infinite possibility for security as far as PGP goes. You just, set the cipher length longer and longer, and you can PGP can even be resistant to quantum computing, because you just got to increase the cipher in order to increase the length of the cipher in order to increase the difficulty of it being cracked into.
And so, what about signatures? You can use PGP as a way of providing a signature of verification that you wrote the message.
Yeah. So. With PGP signatures, that's another interesting thing, right? PGP signatures allow you to establish authenticity of your messages. PGP supports message authentication and integrity checking, The latter is used to detect whether a message has been altered since it was completed, right? This is known as the message integrity property, and the former is to determine whether it was actually sent by the person or entity who is claiming to be the sender. Or in this case, it is the digital signature portion. Because the content is encrypted, any changes in the message will result in failure of the decryption with the appropriate key. So, PGP signatures and PGP cryptography in general is a great way to secure yourself and to establish a consistent, reputable, and verified identity online and in the real world too. Why you should use it, right? It's easily accessible, it's got open source implementations, and it's been, like we've said, it's tried and true, it's great stuff. At this point, if you're listening to our show, you really don't need convincing, you really want to secure yourself, you want to empower yourself, we're just going to take it for granted here, and I hope that you don't mind that we do, that you like security.
Yeah. Got that uneasy feeling with the NSA over our shoulders everywhere.
Oh shoot, I hope none of those guys are listening to our broadcast. Oh wait, they know about this stuff too, and their one weakness is this type of cryptography that's accessible to the people and not just to them. So as far as tools go, right?
Yeah, they have a few browser-based websites you can go to get this kind of encryption and send messages to people. You can go to ianperton.com. They have a tool for sending PGP messages. You can go to igolder.com. They also have a tool. There's plenty of them out there if you just give it a Google search or DuckDuckGo or whatever you use, preferably an encrypted search provider. There's also an app for your phone to send encrypted text. So what about this?
Yeah, actually, this is pretty interesting. There's an app by this team known as Open Whisper Systems. It's called TextSecure, and it makes texting securely on your phone really easy. If you're going to use TextSecure, it would be best that you have unlimited texting because of the nature of public-private key cryptography. You end up with a lot more characters, a lot more messages than you would with a typical text. But you have security. Like, even if you're just saying, hey, I want to meet up for lunch, you know that message is confidential, right? So TextSecure makes it really easy. It's available on Android and iOS. So you just go to the marketplace. So I've got an Android phone. You download it. You open up the app. To set up MMS, you got to look up your provider and their pingback information. And that's easy to get into and find out. In my case, it was Sprint. I set it up. It took about a minute to set it up for MMS, and you don't even need to do that part for SMS. So when you're in the app, basically all you have to do to send a secure message is you pick out your recipient, right? And there's a lock icon in the top right corner area, and you just hit it, and it starts a key exchange message. And you and your texting partner exchange keys, and then you've just got yourself set up with a really easy to use setup for texting securely from person to person with a public-private key cryptography method.
Wow, that's really powerful. I definitely want to get that on my phone.
Yeah, and Open Whisper Systems also has another app that's available called Redphone that also uses a method of it. And both of those apps are completely free, so it's wonderful. And we thank Open Whisper Systems for taking the time to develop this technology. Alright, welcome back. We are in our Liberty section today. So today we're going to talk about the potential cryptocurrency has to elevate and uplift persons in third world countries by providing a stable financial system and access to capital. And so to give you an overview, in a lot of third world countries, the primary thing that gets away in between them and succeeding is not having access to capital and having really bad financial systems, really bad government-managed central banks. And so cryptocurrency is a method to overcome that. And I'll give you a good example of this. In Africa, it's a pretty big thing. The Bank of Zimbabwe eventually ended up printing $10 trillion notes. 10 trillion Zimbabwe notes that are ended up being worth only a couple cents as far as U.S. terms go. I had the fortune of getting one of these notes. I saw them online. I didn't believe such a thing could be real, but no, there it is. Another funny thing about hyperinflation is actually there's this mental disorder associated with hyperinflation. It's called zero syndrome, where people feel the need because of hyperinflation to just write longer and longer strings of zero. This originates from post-war Germany. It's a pretty crazy phenomenon, actually. Hayden, could you imagine, just the only urge you have in your life is to write non-stop zeros? What's up with that?
That's a little much for me, I'm about minimalizing that.
Yeah, well, fortunately, the supply for cryptocurrency is fixed. You know how many there is at a given time. You know how many are going to come into existence. So you don't really have to worry about that zero syndrome there. That said, we're going to get in detail here on how cryptocurrency can help third world countries. So, earlier this year, actually, BitPay, one of their founders, as a side project, started a site called BitcoinWireless.com, I believe it was. It was a test thing, right, where people could sell cell phone minutes and get Bitcoins for them. After it was confirmed and everything, you got your Bitcoin and you're good to go. Well, he didn't really expect it to all that much, but, it was most popular in third world countries. He got so many pings that he actually had to shut down the site and take it a lot more seriously. It's going to be a revamped and re-released project. I don't know if it's come back out on the scene yet. I did take time to check for that before I started recording the show today, but I'm pretty sure it's coming back around in 2014, to my awareness. So that will be interesting to see how it pans out, because there's obviously a really high demand for this type of service. Cryptocurrency can be used with cellular networks and cell phones very easily, and considering the state that most people in at least African countries are using cell phone minutes as a form of currency, this is very empowering to be able to transition from an unregistered, untracked kind of system with cell phone minutes. While they do have value in the fact that that obviously they're airtime, you could talk on the phone, send texts and the like, but having, an actual currency and payment system in place provides a little bit of financial security, and in addition, it provides prosperity because of the deflationary property of cryptocurrency. Studies show that private property and access to capital are the primary things that need to happen before anyone can advance out of poverty, right? By having access to financial markets and financial products and the likewise, they are able to capitalize or start businesses. They're able to defray their opportunity costs of, say, saving up to get a tin roof instead of a straw roof, or they're able to plant a bit more food, because they were better capitalized. They could get more seeds this year, or people, by being better capitalized, can move out from being way out in the countryside to having a motorcycle or likewise, and not have to worry about walking 10 miles each way every day. And so that is generally good. I don't see how having access to reliable transportation could be bad. So on that note, I'm going to talk a little bit about Kiva and Give Directly, two different charities that take two different approaches. Peyton, I talked to you about Kiva a little bit earlier and Give Directly. Can you give the audience here a little summary of what they do?
Yeah. Kiva is what people in poor countries can apply to get business loans, micro loans to start start their own business and build capital for themselves.
And then Give Directly is a service that basically, instead of just giving people loans where they have, where they have to like pay it back eventually, Give Directly just says, you know what, take the money, no strings attached. Two different approaches, but both approaches are significantly better than traditional foreign aid, which hampers the economies of these countries, right? Providing food, while it may feed people in the short term, actually hurts the native agricultural economy in the long term and hurts their chances of escaping poverty.
Yeah, a lot of people don't look at it from that aspect, and they think they're doing good when they're actually doing more harm than good.
Yeah, that's like has to go
in the long term.
Yeah, in the long term, it has to do with opportunity costs, and it has to do with like the short term versus the long term, what you see versus what isn't seen. This is a very good example of one of Bastiat's parable. If you haven't, I recommend that you read Bastiat's The Law. It's about 100 or so pages, but a very good book overall. But anyway, going into detail here about Give Directly. So Give Directly, right, they had an article in NPR recently, and in this article they were talking about how one guy who got a grant from Give Directly, right, he's living in Nigeria, I believe, he found that his Give Directly application had processed and he had received $500 to do whatever he felt like with it, right? And surprisingly, the Give Directly model is fairly effective because these people, when directly empowered with capital, usually know what's best for them and the best things they can do with it, right? So this guy, what he did is he went out and he got a couple motorcycles and he started a taxi business, and he was able to hire somebody, right? He had 2 motorcycles and he was able to move his own income up from $2 a day up to $10 a day, I believe. While that's not much in our first world terms here, it is a significant amount in his. That's a 5 times increase in income, right? And this allowed him and his family to be able to purchase a tin roof instead of straw roofs. And this is a very unfortunate thing about poverty. It's like short-term choices versus long-term ones, right? In the short term, it's cheaper to build a straw roof and to have that installed than to get a tin roof. But in the long term, as far as protection from the elements, durability, and all of that, you'd be better off by having an aluminum roof. Well, if you can't afford it, in the short term, then, well, shoot, you're stuck. You just got to replace your hay and straw roof and put more hay and straw there and hope for the best and hope that maybe someday you'll be able to save up enough to get a tin roof. But, this cycle kind of hampers that ability. So Give Directly kind of helps fill that gap there. And another big thing that cryptocurrency does in this regard is that cryptocurrency, by the deflationary property, as more people adopt it, the value rises. When more people adopt it and the value rises, these people are able to reduce the opportunity costs of going from a straw roof to having an aluminum roof. And once they make that transition, they've got that much of their capital, freed up for future purchases to benefit them. And once, you get one little obstacle out of the way, and then the next step gets easier, the next step gets easier, suddenly, after a while, you'll end up with a thriving middle class and people advancing through the rungs of society and wealth, and they'll be able to help each other out. And we're very charitable here in America. I believe I've read that America's the single most voluntarily giving country. Well, imagine people in third world countries that advance out of poverty have seen that, these people advance into the middle class, and they were like, I had a terrible time when I was in that condition. Can you imagine how generous these people are going to be, their friends and countrymen given the opportunity to advance? That being said, I see that cryptocurrency has a very, very bright future, especially with third world economies. That's where it'll really build the most value. Alright, we hope you enjoyed the fresh, smooth beats of my friend Peyton Leginge here, and you're just the greatest at this.
Oh, thanks, man.
Aw, man. I'm sorry, I'm just too kind here. Anyway, we are on our society portion of Cryptography, Liberty, and Society. Thank you for tuning in once again. Thank you for listening through. So, today, in our society portion, we're going to give you a nice little bit of general Bitcoin cryptocurrency news, and we're going to go into detail on Vacate Wall Street. Right? It's basically a movement to encourage people to stop using US dollars and to take control over their currency. Because as we know, the United States keeps doing rounds and rounds of quantitative easing, putting more money into the economy, inflating, and eventually we'll end up having hyperinflation when that bubble bursts. You'll be glad that you did vacate Wall Street, left your US dollars behind, got into cryptocurrency, gold and silver. So we're going to talk about the goals of that, and we're going to talk about some ways that you can personally vacate Wall Street via microtransactions, offering services for Bitcoin, and likewise. The basic premise of the Vacate Wall Street movement is to get people to completely stop using US dollars by the end of 2014. I, for one, am totally, full steam ahead on it. That is my personal plan. If you're a little skeptical, really, I don't blame you, but I say don't be, one of the most profound concepts in psychology is that emotion follows action, right? If you keep standing around and you have this, fear that you're going to lose money, that's going to be bad, then you're just going to miss out, Fear of missing out is one of the things that will fear of missing out is one of the things that should drive you to say, you know what, I'm going to jump in on this because other people are, and when they do so, it adds to the value of the currency, as we've talked about earlier, the general deflationary effect of adoption. So, basic premise, like I said, is leaving Wall Street via stopping using US dollars. As we can see, Wall Street's actually looking to get in on Bitcoin right now, and that'll help you in the short term. They're going to pump up the price by putting in hundreds of millions of their US dollars, but eventually, once the banksters start dominating Bitcoin, and centralization happens due to blockchain size, which we'll have to cover in a different episode because it is actually a fascinating problem that Bitcoin will have in the long term. But anyway, as this happens, we should generally shift away from using just Bitcoin to other cryptocurrencies in general and having commodity monies such as gold and silver. So, we're going to go into an overview of ways that you can personally vacate Wall Street, right? Obviously, buy Bitcoin, buy WorldCoin, buy Litecoin, buy Peercoin, buy Primecoin. Don't buy scam coins. Save yourself from that. Unless you're an experienced trader, then you know the risks. You know what you're getting into. Just be careful. So, you got options like offering yourself and services for Bitcoin, Litecoin, and others, whatever currency you prefer. It's all about voluntary exchange here. That's the key thing. We're being forced to use US dollars, and we're putting an end to that, right? We're stopping that. We're taking control of our money and our lives. So yeah, BitTunes is a new and exciting platform for people who produce music and for people who really enjoy and share music. What's interesting about it is the way it encourages sharing and the kind of peer-to-peer open source culture type of nature of it, right? If you produce music, like my fine friend here, you can post it up and you can accept Bitcoin for it, and when people like your stuff and they want to share it with other people, if they get people to listen to your stuff and buy it, they can also get paid for it too as a promoter, and this service allows everybody along the process, right? You don't have to necessarily be able to make music to benefit or gain cryptocurrency, or Bitcoin in this case, from using the service. You just got to be passionate about it and share it with the world, share music with the world, and share this platform with the world. BitTunes is really going to change, at least in my opinion, and I do believe Peyton would agree with me here.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's changing the music industry.
Yeah, definitely. You know, leaning artists off of the idea that you have to accept a real dollar to get paid for your music. No, cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and like, you know, it gets people away from, or like, if BitTunes is really successful, it'll really help reduce the power of the big corporate labels and what they do to stifle creativity, to stifle good music from getting into the mainstream. Right, you know, BitTunes will really enable an advancement and progress in all genres of music. It'll allow more people to be providers of music and to make money off of their passions. And, you know, who could ask for more than that, right? If you can easily get yourself out there and you can get Bitcoin for it, like, how can you turn that down? I mean, and even crazier, like, you don't have to be somebody that makes music on BitTunes. You can just be somebody that really enjoys it and really enjoys sharing it. And that's a platform for you to get cryptocurrency here. And, you know, it's just a really amazing process to see how the whole Bitcoin economy is going and how the whole cryptocurrency economy is going along. And so, on our end note today, we're going to talk about how simple and intuitive, like, the whole concept of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is. Like, you know, there's this real cool story on CoinDesk a little bit back. This 9-year-old kid, he had Apple shares, right? He was a pretty smart kid for getting stock in the first place instead of, you know, choo-choo train or anything else for his birthday. I mean, you gotta give him credit. Like, he, like, goes up to his dad and he's like, I want Apple stock for my birthday. And his dad gets him $120 worth of Apple stock, and the value goes up. And then, like, his dad starts talking to this kid about Bitcoin, and the kid's like, what? I want Bitcoin. Can I cash out my Apple stock for Bitcoin? So, you know, the kid gets Bitcoin with his Apple stock, and he posts on Reddit about it, and it was really popular. He got a bunch of donations, and he gained, like, you know, with his Bitcoin, he had gained about $50 in value, and he was considering selling 25% of it, but he's like, you know what, he was pretty savvy kid. He listened through the Senate hearings, thought they went really well, and he's like, you know what, I'm not going to cash out any of it, I'm in it for the long haul, right? It's just like a real cute, nice story. And, you know, he had this little business where he's selling bracelets for Bitcoin, and he just spent it, he sold, like, when he posted on Reddit, he just completely sold out. He's got to buy more supplies so that he can keep making bracelets to get Bitcoin. He's talking to all his little friends, and they're like, oh, wow, we want to use Bitcoin. And amongst other things, it's like, yeah, he sees the obvious benefits. Like, you don't have to carry out a big wallet. You just got to have your phone, or he's got a paper wallet, if you know what that is. It's basically, you know, your Bitcoin address, you print it on a piece of paper. It's got a private key in case you need to, like, spend some on it. But yeah, like, you don't have to worry about having paper currency. You don't have to worry, like, you know, if in a really terrible situation, if you were getting mugged, if you got Bitcoin, I mean, if somebody can't figure out the password for your cell phone and you got your wallet properly backed up, you have nothing to worry about. As with, you know, if somebody took your credit card or your cash, yeah, you got quite a problem there. But, you know, like I said, this was a nice note to end the show on. You know, it just goes to show that, you know, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is the future, and it's so simple and intuitive that even, like, a 9-year-old kid can get it, right? And, you know, kids like him are the future, right? And so if they're on board with the whole digital currency, cryptocurrency game, then, like, why shouldn't you be? I mean, you're listening here, if you aren't in the cryptocurrency game, you should be. I mean, and that's what we're here to encourage you to do. So yeah, if you liked our show, we thank you very much for listening. We hope you found a lot of good information here. Hope you found this show like a useful resource and want to tune in the future. Our tip address is right below, and in future episodes, if we win this contest, and we really hope we do, please, you know, send us your millibits so we can hopefully win this and proceed on. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day.
If you enjoyed the show you just listened to, visit letstalkbitcoin.com/contest and send 0.1 millibit or 0.0001 Bitcoin to the address indicated for that show. Thanks for helping.